Oh, hello! I almost didn't see you there. Welcome to a brand new episode of... Got water on my lip. Welcome to a brand new episode of The Consolog. All you new subscribers out there, welcome to the party. All you existing consologers out there, hello. I'm so happy to see you again. This has been an exciting week for web and JavaScript. In particular, JavaScript this past week. There's since two very interesting things that happened the past week, which I'm going to tell you all about in the very near future. But this was the past week of January 8th through January 14th. It got pretty cold again in New York City, where I'm filming this from. It was warm the previous week, so it's back to just being bundled up. But enough about the weather. Let's talk about the code and how things are going down in that world. Let's kick the show off now. And the first thing that I think you should definitely know about is the state of ES modules in the land of Node. In case you don't know what ES modules are, it is the new module system built for JavaScript. So ES modules is a new system for that. In the world of Node, there has been a module system used for years called CommonJS. And it's been used for years and it's been great. However, now with the introduction of ES modules in the browser, there is a desire for ES modules in the browser, how it's defined in the browser, to also work in Node. There is currently an implementation of ES modules built in Node behind a flag. You can enable it with a flag to say, hey Node, let me use ES modules. However, this current implementation isn't really the most well liked. They had to do a lot of trade-offs in making this implementation, and the biggest one that has the most pushback is that to create an ES module file in Node, it requires the .mjs extension, which isn't the most pretty, but that was the trade-off that was made. This past week, the team at NPM actually released a new proposal, the NPM's take, on how they could bring ES module support to Node with less trade-offs than the current implementation. And this proposal I am very excited about because I think it hits on the right points of trade-offs with ES modules and Node. I'm not going to go into the details of it because you can check that out, but suffice it to say that these trade-offs will allow you to use ES modules in the browser as you would in ES modules in Node. There's a caveat with like the path to a file, so if you say import foo, that might be a little bit different between the browser and Node. But this proposal is pretty exciting because I think if it gets acceptance, I think this will make all of our lives going forward a lot more pleasant because we'll be able to write this one ES module file that can be used both in the browser and in Node and have no difficulty in sharing that. We'll actually be able to have our cake and eat it too. Very exciting. The comment thread is great. The gist is also very thorough. Check it out if you want more details, but suffice it to say, this is very promising for the future of ES modules and JavaScript as a whole. Also in the land of JavaScript and how the language is evolving, there was a new pull request opened against the ES262, which is the actual specification for the language of JavaScript. So what that means is that there was a new pull request open. This is the result of the committee that meets about the language, the JavaScript language itself. And the big hoopla around this PR is the fact that they are adding an explicit warning that that if you rely on ASI, which is Automatic Semicolon Insertion, that is the feature of JavaScript that lets you actually write JavaScript without semicolons. JavaScript will actually automatically insert it for you. There is a pull request open that explicitly warns against using semicolons. And this, of course, devolved, sadly, into a bike shedding thread about are they good, are they bad? But the focus of this new warning isn't good or bad. It's to discourage reliance on ASI because, as said in the thread from a commenter, the ASI hazards, relying on ASI, is increasing over time with new features being added to JavaScript. As new features are added to JavaScript, if you try to rely on the automatic semicolon insertions, you will encounter more places where you have to actually know to actually add a semicolon to prevent your code from breaking. So I think this is a good idea because it's a warning for future developers that there are dragons if you rely on ASI. This thread is still evolving. It's definitely going to be added in some form that you should not use ASI without any reservations, but just good to know that this is more of a firm, taking a little bit more of an assertion that ASI has hazards, and if you are okay with those hazards, then you can do that. But to actually have that in the spec itself, I think is a good step forward. If you use ASI or not, that's up to you, but just know that dragons be there. I feel pretty, oh so pretty. Prettier just turned 1.0. Prettier, the automatic JavaScript formatting tool, just turned 1, which is pretty crazy because it seems like it's been around forever, or maybe just the pace of JavaScript moves way too fast. It's definitely the last one, isn't it? This blog post is a celebration of all the past year in the land of Prettier and all the new things that Prettier introduced to the community and how and why Prettier was able to succeed. Talking about how there was a clear decision-making process because Prettier can definitely devolve into a lot of bike shedding, but actually having clear ways to justify a decision, such as seeing the usages of a certain pattern in the Facebook code base was a good indicator that this is a standard convention that should be used in Prettier. Blog post also talks about some new exciting things coming up in Prettier, how there are now 3 official plugins under development for Prettier to actually bring the capability of Prettier to format your code to Python, PHP, and Swift. So that's pretty exciting that this JavaScript-based tool is looking beyond the world of JavaScript and trying to actually format and make other languages look as pretty as our JavaScript code looks today. So happy birthday, Prettier. I have been enjoying you immensely for the past year, and I can't wait to see you at 2.0. And last but not least, let's talk about Atom. They had a new blog post this past week talking about the state of Atom's performance. Atom being a code editor, one that I actually used for a long time myself, and I actually moved from Atom to VS Code because of its performance. And in this blog post, they actually delve into all the ways in which Atom has been aggressively tackling the ways in which Atom is not performing up to their standards. They have 4 main categories of places that they're trying to improve performance. One is the startup time. They fixed some of this by moving some code actually from JavaScript to C++, which is a little ironic that it being a JavaScript-based editor. Typing latency, they actually rewrote how they are rendering things to the UI to actually reduce that latency. Scaling to large files and projects, they wrote their own file watcher to make sure they know when the files on disk changed. And they also did work to actually reduce the baseline memory usage of Atom to make it not as much of a memory hog. So these are all very exciting things. Unfortunately, I still enjoy VS Code. If I was getting unhappy with VS Code, I might try Atom again. But if you are using Atom and you have noticed things getting better, please do let me know in the comments because I'd be curious to hear about that because I do love Atom. I want to see it succeed and grow. I was just typing faster than Atom could keep up with me, and that was making me sad. But for all you Atom users out there, they are aware of its limitations. They're trying to make it better, and this is a blog post showing it how. So that was the week, all you console loggers out there. I hope you had some fun code this past week. The JavaScript language is evolving, as you can see from your very eyes. This past week is just an example of that as well. What's going to happen this coming week? Who's to tell? So many things are happening. But in any event, I hope you have a pleasant week of coding. Let me know in the comments how you feel about these new things, how you feel about the ES module support in Node, how you feel about the ASI hoopla. Hoopla is one of my favorite words because it's a hoop and a la. And I like to say la 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 la. Have a good rest of the week, and I will talk to you again next Monday. With that, I say goodbye and good evening and goodbye and good evening and goodbye and good evening and goodbye and good evening.